time.
Okay, thank you, Dov. And Lunch and Learn this week is on Shavuot, and Shavuot has a couple of the name represents the weeks that lead up to it. The name also represents an oath, because we are all mushba v'omed mehar Sinai. We all took an oath on Har Sinai, and as I was saying, that has halachic ramifications. Meaning, if I were to swear, I'm not going to put on tefillin, and then I go ahead and I put on tefillin, will I have broken my oath? Am I responsible for breaking my oath? No.
I think your oath is invalid.
My oath is invalid. Why? Because I already swore that I would wear tefillin on Har Sinai. Therefore, now taking an oath that I will not is inherently invalidated. It is uprooted, right? And let's say I swore. Again, so any oath that I take in regard to a mitzvah, whether it's to do a mitzvah and I don't, or to not do a mitzvah and I do, the oath becomes irrelevant. It is moot, because there is an overarching shavua, pre-existing oath that took place already on Har Sinai.
Is that because it's a communal oath?
Yes. Okay, now, what is missing from the name of the holiday of Shavuot? In other words, Pesach, included in the name of the holiday, is that Hashem passed over the houses of the Jews as the 10th plague was brought. So in the name of the holiday, we have the essence of the holiday, which is deliverance. Granted, it's not the holiday of Yetziah, of Exodus. It mentions a precursor to that, but it's certainly within the realm of the miracle of that holiday. Sukkot, well, that's it. That's the Sukkot. We had the Sukkot in the wilderness. Does it reference the actual Sukkot, or does it reference the clouds of glory which served as a sukkah over us? There are different ways of understanding it, but either way, the name of the holiday clearly depicts the holiday itself, right? And we go on. Rosh Hashanah depicts. Yom Kippur certainly describes and depicts. However, Shavuot, as the time of our Matan Torah, which is the cataclysmic event of human history, meaning the point where the breach between the chasm between heaven and earth, between spirituality and physicality was breached, and all of a sudden there is that connection, that is not mentioned in, or is not is not there in the name of the holiday, and we'll soon see that it's not even found in the Torah itself. So this event, which is the cataclysmic event of human history, which is the very bedrock of our faith, Rambam, Maimonides says very clearly, we don't believe in Moshe and the Torah because Moshe did wonders for us. We're not impressed by wonders. And the Torah speaks about if a prophet or a self-proclaimed prophet will come and do all these wonders and tell you to go against one iota of the Torah, then you know that he is a false prophet. Because the only reason we're not impressed by signs and wonders. There are plenty of charlatans that have been through the ages till today who can do wonders and miracles and convince people. That's not what does it for us. What does it for us is what we ourselves experienced. Har Sinai, hearing God call Moshe. So this is the cataclysmic event of human history. This is the bedrock foundation of Judaism. This is what it's all about. And yet, it's not mentioned in the name, nor is it even mentioned in the Torah. So let's start to go through some of our sources to try to get a better understanding of this. The first source is Ramban, Nachmanides, and Shavuot is called Atzeret. Okay? Very interesting. What other holiday is called Atzeret? Shmini Atzeret, right? Because we've got, and Atzeret means a gathering in, a conclusion. So I understand. We had 7 days of Sukkot. That's followed by Shmini, the 8th day, which is Atzeret, where we are meant to gather in all of the experiences that we had until that point, and that is the concluding holiday. So Ramban says, "V'tziva b'chag hamatzot shiva yamim b'kedusha lifneim ula'achareim umana." So Chag hamatzot, we have 7 days with kedusha, with a holiday Yom Tov day 1 and Yom Tov day 7. Right here in Chutz La'aretz we have Yom Tov's days 1 and 2 and days 7 and 8. According to the Torah, as it's done in Israel, where they do it right, there it's 1 day beginning, 1 day at the end. Umana mimenu, but then we count from there Tisha v'arba'im yom. We count then 49 days. V'kadesh yom shmini k'shmini shel chag. After those 7 weeks, that 8th day, so to speak, that day which comes after the 7, we have sanctified like the 8th day of Sukkot. Fascinating. He says our 49 days of Sphira are like a Chol HaMoed, between the first day of Pesach, a 49-day Chol HaMoed, and then the last day of Yom Tov, which is Shavuot. So it's actually, Ramban says, right, we're familiar with first day of Sukkot, Chol HaMoed, Shmini Atzeret. First day of Pesach, Chol HaMoed, last day of Pesach. He says actually, another way of looking at it is first day of Pesach, 49 days of Chol HaMoed, and then the last day, which is Shavuot. V'hu Yom Matan Torah. This is the day of the giving of the Torah, Sher Ambo at Isho Agdola, where God manifested, showed this tremendous fire. Udvarav Shema'o mitoch ha'esh, and his words we heard from the midst of that fire. Ulakach, and that's why Rabbeinu Yikru Zal, they call B'chol Makom Chag Shavuot Atzeret. They call it Atzeret. Kuhu Kiyom Shmini Shel Chag Shekara Kasakein. This is like the 8th day of Sukkot. This is the 8th day of Pesach. And of course, as we've mentioned before, well, let's see the Sefer HaChinuch, which is number 2, right? Lefi Shekol Ikaran Shel Yisroel Eino Ela HaTorah. The whole essence of the nation of Israel is the Torah. Uvnei HaTorah nivru shamayim va'aretz v'Yisrael. And it was for the sake of the Torah that the world and Israel were created. Meaning, let's understand this for a moment. When we say the Bereshit, in the beginning, God created, Rashi brings Bereshit. It was because of Reshit that God created. What is Reshit? The Torah is called Reshit. Yisroel are called Reshit. So it's for the sake of the Torah and for the sake of Yisroel, the world was created. Now that might seem to be very, very self-inflating, but let's understand a couple of things. First of all, no nation was born Yisroel. Who became Yisroel? The people that decided to connect themselves to Hashem. Right? That could have been any one nation. It could have been many nations. When we say the Torah is created for the Torah and for Yisrael, it means that if we are believing in a God and believing that God created the world, then it only makes sense to say that there is some purpose for this world. And the only way that we can understand this purpose is if this purpose is related to us at some point, and if there will be those who will sign up to follow that purpose. Otherwise, if we're believing in a God, it's strange to me. I mean, you might disagree. To me, it seems strange to say God created this world, but then couldn't really give a hoot what happens over here, and then just let it orbit, and that's what it's all about, right? To me, it makes sense if someone say there's no God, that's their prerogative to believe that, right? But if we're believing in a God, then what makes sense to me is then there is a purpose. And we have to have an idea what that purpose is. And you need to have people who are going to sign up for that purpose in order for it to be realized. Which is another way of saying God created the world Bereshit for the Torah, which is called Reshit, which means that there will be instructions that will be given. And because of Yisroel that are called Reshit, which means there will be those who will sign up and ascribe to these instructions and do their darndest to follow these instructions. So again, the Torah, because of the Torah, the heavens were created in Yisroel. The whole purpose of the Exodus from Egypt was in order to receive the Torah. Like Hashem said to Moshe, this is how you'll know that I sent you when I take you out. They will serve God on this mountain. And therefore, if for this reason we were redeemed and reached the heights that we reached, therefore we're commanded to count. Therefore we're commanded to count right when Pesach, from the time we left, the day after we left, you start to count. To show and to build within ourselves our tremendous desire, thirst for this yom, this honorable, this distinguished day that we feel, the honor we feel in our heart. Like a servant, right, who yearns and counts until the days who'll go out free. Counting shows that I can't wait to get until that point. So therefore we understand, according to the Sefer HaChinuch, we understand the Ramban even better. Beautiful. There are two bookends. There is the redemption. There was the physical redemption. That's the first day of Pesach. Then we have Chol HaMoed, 49 days, stretching until we reach the point of our spiritual redemption, our spiritual ascent to this height, which was Matan Torah, and everything else. So they are bookends of the same idea. It's the start of the Geula, which begins with the physical, and then we need to climb that ladder until we're ready for the spiritual redemption. This is also contained in what we eat when we leave Mitzrayim is matzah. Right? It's matzah. Now that seems ridiculous. Right? We've been eating this lechem oni, this bread of affliction. We've been enslaved for 210 years. We come out of there, we should be met with Boston cream pie, with lemon meringue. That's what we should be left. We're free now. We go out. Now don't tell me, well, we were in a rush. Because God had 210 years to plan this. The 18 minutes should not have been an issue. Right? We agree with that? So clearly this was meant. Right? It's not that God ran out of time. Right? But rather, He wanted us to go out and eat matzah. Because in fact, we are still avadim. We're going from slavery to servitude, as he mentioned many times. Shlach et ami, let my people go. V'yavduni, and let them serve me. Hollywood did not get into that part of it, right? But that's all part of it. So going from one servitude to another, from a degrading, demeaning, debilitating slavery to an uplifting, rejuvenating, and inspiring and freedom-bringing servitude to Hashem. But it's matzah. It's not we do whatever we want. Okay? And these are the two bookends that we have in this holiday.
We really weren't, you said we went from freedom to servitude. Did you say Slavery.
To servitude.
But what did you say, freedom to?
Well, we're going to soon, we'll see a little bit later on some of the sources that the Torah is referred to as Shavout. So the servitude to the Torah, to Hashem, actually is what brings a degree of Shavout, of freedom.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood.
Yeah, that we're going to soon see some more.
What do we think about the 50-day period? Why 50 days?
Okay, so so 7 is always the natural.
It's a week of weeks, right?
It's 7 sevens, yeah. And then we get to, right, like it's 7 days, then we have the circumcision that goes beyond. Here it's 7 sevens.
The holidays seem to have that kind of
Right, and then we go beyond. The holidays are always on the 15th of the month, right? It's the 2 weeks of the month, and then it's always rising beyond the natural.
Wasn't it also the counting of the Omer, and that's how long it took for the...
Yes, but why were we commanded? But why were we commanded to count that Omer for 49 days, right? Or can you go back? Why, if you want to say that? Well, that is the actual cycle. No,
it was a harvesting one.
Yes, but I don't know if it's. I don't know if it's hard and fast that it's 49 and not 48 and not 50, right? I mean, I would imagine. You know, we bring the first barley on the day after Pesach, and we bring the first wheat then. I imagine there could have been days before or after also. There's probably some wiggle room that could have been applied.
I think we're getting right.
Okay, I hear that, though.
Right, to get ready, because when we're...
I hear that.
Just like the grain, we have to be ready for...
I hear that.
Being used in the
Okay,
higher way.
now as I mentioned, yes.
From the time of the Exodus to the time of the receiving of the Torah was how long?
49 days.
Oh, actual days.
Exactly right. Right? You know, Ian's bringing up an interesting point. Whereas all the other holidays have specific dates upon which they fall,
True.
Shavuot does not have a specific date. Right? It's 49 days. We count 49 days, and then we have Shavuot. Now, it could actually be on different dates, depending on the month of Nisan, the month of Iyar, being 29 or 30 days. Right? If they're both 29-day months, then it's the 6th of Sivan. If they're both 30-day months, then it's the 5th of Sivan. With 130 and 129, it falls out on the 6th of Sivan. Right? But it's not a specific date, and we're going to see more about that right now. The Kli Yakar, which is starting the second page, Vayikra 23:16. See, he's working on the pasuk. The verse omits the fact that the Torah was given on Shavuot, right? And he's going to explain why. It says you'll count 7 weeks, and then you're going to bring a mincha chadasha, which is a new offering. That's all it talks about. It talks about counting 7 weeks and bringing a new offering. You'd think that the Torah might mention that this is the day the Torah was given, right? Do you think?
You would think.
Right? You would think, right? So the fact that it doesn't, it is a glaring omission meant to teach us a very important teaching. The Pasuk says, you shall bring a new offering. That's the 2 loaves of bread that you bring to Hashem. Interestingly, the only time that we're actually bringing chametz in the Beit HaMikdash is on Shavuos. So going from Pesach, right, to an obligation to bring the lechem. Siman lematan Torah. This mincha chadasha the Torah mentions is the way the Torah, it's a siman, it's a sign, it's a representation, and it's the way the Torah wants to present Torah to us. It presents it to us as, I ate already. I know you think I'm getting me a sandwich. I ate already. Thank you. I know you're a balas chesed, Lorette. I see that look in your eye. Okay. So the way the Torah describes the Matan Torah is the 2 loaves of bread. Ki ha-Torah tzricha liyot chadasha, etzel adam b'chol yom. The Torah must be like new to a person every day. Ki'ilu ayom kibula mehar Sinai, as if today we received it on Har Sinai. Umashlo nizkar Torah beferish kiyum zematan Torah. That the Torah did not say explicitly, this is the day of the giving of the Torah. Shal matan Torah l'ratzah Hashem lahagbil yom yidua. God did not want to limit one day for, oh, that's our Torah day. A person, he must feel every single day of the entire year. That it's as if he received the Torah that day on Har Sinai, and that's why Chazal, our sages, see divrei Torah chadashim alecha v'lo kedavar yashan shelibo shel adam katz ba. Something that we have already, we get accustomed to it. What happens? We get bored with it. And therefore we did not want to give it a single day. Every single day we need to feel that the Torah is given to us. Every day we wash our hands in the morning. Different reason why we wash our hands, right? The way to wash our hands, alternatively, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Different reason why we're washing our hands. One of the reasons given is like the Kohen. And when he would enter the Beit HaMikdash, the temple, to perform his avoda, he would wash his hands to consecrate himself for the task ahead. So we're not Kohanim. We're not Kohanim, and we're not in the Beit HaMikdash, but to a certain degree we are. Because our Beit HaMikdash is our home, is our day that lies ahead of us. And we wake up in the morning, we consecrate ourselves to perform our avoda in our Beit HaMikdash. That is our home. That is our family. That is whoever we encounter during that day. That is our Beit HaMikdash, because that is where we perform our avoda, our divine service. Every morning we wake up and we've received the Torah. We have our mission. So the Torah did not want to diminish it by giving it one day. It's each and every day. Let's finish the paragraph and then a couple of hands go up. In truth, you find something new there each and every day. Therefore, its day of giving is not expressed in the Torah. Yoter, anything past Mashanir Mazdat, that it says, bring a mincha chadasha, bring a new offering. L'horocha Torah mincha chadasha b'chol yom v'yom. The Torah is meant to be a mincha chadasha each and every day. A couple of hands are up first, though. Yes, Janet was first, I believe.
So, when it says new, how do we know that's just not something like from a new birth of a lamb or a sheep? Or
Well, it says a mincha chadasha. It says you should bring this new meal offering, which is what we bring them.
Oh, so
but that's representative of the Torah.
Chadasha is meal?
Yes, chadasha means new.
That's just new.
Yes.
New.
Is
But
this his opinion, or does he base it on
It's
something? Like Rashi always makes reference to where he got his idea, and there's no, I mean...
Yes,
This is just
Rashi
opinion.
often brings from the Medrash. I'm not sure where the Kli Yakar is bringing this from, but the Kli Yakar is a person with the shoulders
Right.
to carry it on his own. Yeah, yeah. Yes, Dov.
Mincha also can mean gift, so we're going to be the new gift that we present every day to Hashem.
Okay, nice. Okay, therefore, the Pelioitz and Atzeret, the next, Atzeret hu chag kadosh ma'od. Shavuot, he says, is a holiday that is so holy. Asher bo kiddishanu Hashem yitbarach, that God sanctified us. The Torah u'mitzvotav, with His Torah, with His commandments. Ubachar bani mikol ha'amim liot lo la'am skula, and He chose us from all the nations to be an am segula, this treasured nation. Now, I had such an interesting situation.
I'm going to have a part of it.
Such an interesting situation when I was living in Israel.
I don't want to.
And-
I don't want.
When I was living in Israel, and we were doing some building in my apartment there, and we were pushing out from the bottom floor out into a backyard area. I needed a door. So you say, okay, Rabbi, so go to a hardware store and get a door. In Israel, the doors were ridiculously expensive. And I saw that in Home Depot, and someone was bringing a lift who said he has room for me on the lift. Thank you. And I saw that in Home Depot, I get a fantastic door for like $100. Right? So all I needed was someone. No, to hang it, I asked someone in Israel could do that. I needed someone to get the door from Home Depot over to the shipping, wherever the shipping company, right, to get it over. So there are many boys I was very close with over the years. So I picked up the phone and I called one of the guys and I said, listen, within the next month, if you have a couple of hours on a Sunday, I could use a favor. All right, and I told him what I needed, and he was very happy to do it. And he said, Rabbi, let me just ask you one question. I said, sure. He said, how many calls did you make before you called me? Or was I the first call? And I said, Avi, you were my first call. He goes, yes! Yes! Thank you, Rabbi! Yes! He said, I can't tell you how good he made me feel. Out of all the hundreds of guys that you've taught, that you called me as your first call, thank you. Thank you. Right? And here I was feeling bad. I'm going to bother someone. Right? And it made me feel so good. But that's the idea. Right? The segula over here is the tremendous simcha that God sanctified us, that He chose us from amongst the nations. He chose us. Yes! Out of all the nations that God had for so many years, He called us to get the door from Home Depot and bring it over to the shipping company. Right? That's what we're supposed to feel. Yes! Wow!
You won the lottery.
I thought he went to all the other nations first.
Right.
Huh?
I thought he went to all the other nations first.
Hello.
The idea,
He knew they were going to reject him.
the idea is that they inherently were unable to accept it because they were going into it with their preconceived, if this, and this, then I'll do it. As opposed to our Naaseh v'nishma attitude. Right? Naaseh v'nishma is, I'll do it. Now what is it that you want? A wonderful thing in a spousal relationship or any relationship that you have, right? Someone who you know and love says, right? Can you help me with something? Can you do me a favor? The response should be anything. Of course. Now tell me what. Meaning, I love you, I care for you, I trust you. And you're not going to ask me anything that I can't do? And of course, yes, Naaseh, yes, I'm happy to do it. Nishma. Now, what is it? Right? When you start with, okay, help me? Well, it depends what it is. It depends what day it is. It depends how heavy it is. It depends how time-consuming it's going to be. It depends what's going to cost me. Right? At that point, you're already distancing in the relationship. Vilav hayam v'dekagarn, so we're not for that day that caused it. Kistom hayinu, la'amor daminu. Then we'd be like Sodom, like Sodom and Gomorrah, like Sodom and Amorah. That's the way that we are meant to rejoice on this day. How can you not rejoice? Ki tov lanu, tovat haTorah v'amitzvot, mikol tovat olam hazeh, kochai olam haba. The Torah and the mitzvot are greater than all of the good of this world and all of the good of the next world.
That's a fascinating comment.
Isn't it?
Is that how we perceive the significance of the next world? It's less than what we do on this earth?
Well,
it's very different than Christianity and...
Yes. Yeah. So we actually have one Mishnah in Avot which seems to be self-contradictory. It says it says that all the pleasures, all the good of this world doesn't equal one moment in the world to come, right? And the way Rav Dessler explains that all of the good of this world means, he very beautifully illustrates it. Take all the good feelings we've had in the last month, and now condense that into a minute, right? That would be a really really good minute of life. Now, take all the good feelings that you've had in the past 25 ages, we're good on 25. On the past 25, 30 years, and condense that into 10 seconds. Whew. Right? You just feel the, the chills going up and down. You're just in a state of glee, of euphoria. Then he says, take all of the pleasurable moments, feelings you've had over your whole entire lifetime. That means being held as an infant by your mother. And everything, the entire lifetime, and put that all into 1 second. He says that's what it means when the Mishnah says that a moment in Olam Haba is greater than all the pleasures of this world. So that's what the Mishnah says on one hand. But then it says that all the pleasure in the next world don't equal 1 minute of Torah and mitzvot. Right? So there is the receiving of the reward, and then there is the toil towards it. And we know, at least in this world, we enjoy, the expression, it's not the arrival, it's the journey. It's not the destination, it's the journey, right? And we know in life that what we really enjoy is working towards something. That is when we feel accomplished, when we feel alive. That is in this world. So yes, right? So on one hand, the pleasure of the next world far exceed anything we can even imagine in this world. But there's a certain pleasure of the toil, of the getting there, that this world offers that the next world does not. There's a great story that I copied here. The great sage of Rabbi Aaron Kotler, who was the founder of the Lakewood Yeshiva, once delivered a lecture in which he remarked that a person who provides the funds for Torah study will enjoy the same reward in the next world as the Torah scholars themselves. After this lecture, he was approached by a wealthy man who challenged him, "Rabbi, why should I bother to exert myself to study the Torah? All I have to do is make donations to Torah institutions, and I'll be assured immeasurable reward in the world to come." Rabbi Kotler regarded the wealthy man with an expression of utter seriousness and responded, "It's true. Your portion of the world to come will be the same, but your life in this world will not be comparable." There's a certain sweetness that on a couple of levels, many levels. Let me share two. And there's a certain sweetness that a person has when they are really engaged in their Avodat Hashem and really accomplishing. There was a period of time in Israel when I was waking up to daven Vatikin. Vatikin means a sunrise minyan. I was waking up to learn about a half hour before the minyan, and then davening Vatikin. And I used to walk up the hill from where I lived up to the yeshiva. I was walking up in the dark every morning, and I had such a feeling of euphoria, saying, "I'm beating the sun. The sun serves God, and I serve God, and I'm up before the sun every day." And there was such a, it was so energizing. And there's also the idea that if a person is involved in Torah and mitzvot, a person is living a God-filled life, then a person can deal with those difficulties that everyone encounters in their life, because they have that perspective, they have that confidence, they have that trust that this is God arranging it. Without that, life is crazy, life's horrific. It's just, it's the roll of the dice, and who knows where it can end up. Yes?
I think, if I may interject personally, I think it's true what these Pesachs and Rabbi Kotler and you're saying, because I've come back this year to making sure every Shabbos I read the Parsha and the commentaries. And now I find I'm making better, more subtle connections and having better, more discriminating insights
Great.
So,
Thank you. Nice. Thank you for sharing that. Beautiful.
The two loaves on Shavuot that you.
The two what? I'm sorry?
Loaves of bread.
Oh yeah.
Is there any connection between that and Shabbos?
Okay. So that we have every Shabbos we have Lechem Mishnah,
Yeah.
right? That's because of the double dose of manna that fell every Friday, right? But the two loaves do manifest themselves somewhat on Shavuos. Some have the custom to have first dairy and then meat on Friday night. But to do that, you have to have different seudot. So you have two different loaves of bread, right? Some say that is the source of that custom. Okay, let's do a few more. Okay, on the last page. So this is from the Siftei Chaim of Chaim Friedlander. This faith, well, actually, let's do a little out of order. Let's go down to number 2 on the last page first. Rav Nosson Weiss. Okay, the people who stood on Mount Sinai perceived the soul world with absolute clarity, while the physical world receded into the remote distance, generally occupied by spiritual matters. Right? Very interesting. Right? We live in a very physical world, very physical existence, and the spiritual matters are sort of in the background. They come forward a little bit and then they recede. On Mount Sinai, it was the opposite. There, the spiritual world was absolutely clear. The physical world was this blur in the background. A meeting between the congregation of Israel and God taking place at this high level of spirituality clearly exposed the spiritual connection that exists between all Jews, as well as the connection between God and Israel. It is not by accident that when Moses retells the events of Mount Sinai in Sefer Devarim, he concludes with the classical statement of Shema Yisroel, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, of the absolute unity of God, unity of God between God and Jewish people, and the unity with each other. Right? So it was this recount of Matan Torah, right, which brought Moshe to the Shema Yisrael. There was this absolute clarity that we had in Mount Sinai. And going back to Aaron Kotler, and when a person is immersed in Torah, they get a little tinge, a little sense of that clarity. Now go up above. There's a fantastic teaching here. This was faith based on prophetic tangible vision. As the verse states, and all the people saw the sounds. They saw the sounds. Roim et hakolot. They saw the sounds. So listen to this illustration. Let's say we're sitting over here and we hear someone talking outside. Right? And it sure sounds like Bev. So we assume, that it's Bev talking outside. Right? And instead, right, who walks in? Monica walks in. So we either say, Monica, you sounded just like Bev. Or we say, Bev, you look just like Monica. Which one do we go with? Which one do we go with? Do we say, Monica, you sound like Bev? Or do we say, Bev, you look like Monica? Which one do we go with? We go with our eyes. Right? It sure sounded like Bev, but it's Monica. Right? So our sense of vision, right, is that much clearer to us than our sense of sound. So what happened over here? Roim et hakolot. We saw the sounds. Meaning that which we heard was so clear to us, it was as if it was tangibly in front of us. Something which is heard is more distant conceptually from a person than something which is seen. In their prophecy, they saw the revelation of God to Moses without any barriers or impediments that would prevent them from seeing this revelation. Therefore, the Torah testifies, also in you, Moshe, they will believe forever. Someone who has seen the revelation of God in this tangible way has this eternal faith.
So did Hashem show some aspect of the back of itself to the...
That was to Moshe and Har Sinai. That was not the whole nation. That idea of Achorai, that was a vision that Moshe had.
So what then is the revelation of God to Moshe? In other words, what does that comprise? Is it the,
Someone who has seen the revelation of God in this tangible way has eternal, right?
because if it was that clear, it seems like some aspect of Hashem may
They
have
heard
been-
his voice, they heard the kolot.
Okay.
But it was as if they saw it.
Okay.
I'm confused, this is at Har Sinai or Harmonica?
Okay, no. Okay. Now, Rav Dessler
Knock, knock.
says, listening from Matan Torah today, each Shavuot, we spiritually arrive at that same point of sanctity experienced by our forefathers at Mount Sinai. It is once again, in a real sense, Zman Matan Toratenu, the time of the giving of our Torah. We mentioned many times, Jewish history, the Jewish year cycle doesn't start at one point and go out. We go around in circles. It's like Epcot Center, right? You go into different pavilions, and you're in that pavilion, and we enter Rosh Hashanah, we're in Din. We enter Yom Kippur, we're in Atonement. We're in the Sukkah. It's the time of deliverance. This is the time we re-enter that zone of Matan Torah. It is literally Zman. Right now on Shavuot, it'll be the time of Matan Toratenu. Not what took place then, but it is now this Matan Torah. And sure, we have to work in order to receive the Torah. We have to struggle to acquire it in our hearts. We have to appreciate its truths as unchangeable verities. The nations still harbored lingering doubts. Only when they heard God's voice at Sinai was doubt replaced by certainty. So too, when we learn Torah today, especially Shavuot time, can we, if we wish, still hear the same voice. Lastly, we can appreciate the teaching of our sages on this day. Bayom hazeh bo midbar Sinai. On this day, they came to Midbar Sinai. What do you mean on this day? The Torah should have told us, it would have been more fitting to say, on that day they came. What do you mean on this day? Rather, to teach the words of Torah should be new to you as if they had been given today. In practice, when everyone studies Torah in the appropriate manner, he receives inspiration from God, similar to the atmosphere which prevailed at Sinai. For this reason, the Torah states, on this day, today, just like the day they came to Midbar Sinai. Just like the day they came to the Midbar of Sinai. Yeshakach.
How do you fit into this, the medrash, or whatever, that the people were so frightened when they heard the call?
So that was after the first two.
Right.
But the first two they heard themselves. That was after the first two.
Couldn't we have heard all of them?
Huh?
I think I heard all of them.
Well, then I guess you did.
And I'm sure you did.
Yes, the
Trying
ones
to.
that saw you at Sinai.
Ah, yeah.
Right. That's what
Roe Mesakos, I think I heard an explanation also once that it was like sensory overload, that all of our senses were heightened and responded.
Engaged.
That makes
Nice.
sense to me.
Nice.
Yeah, you would feel it,
Nice.
you would taste it, you would see it, hear it.
I'm eating your part of me.
Rabbi,
Okay,
before you
yes,
go,
Yes,
can you
of
give me
course.
one thing?
Thank you, Rabbi.
Can you just give me Avi's phone number, please?